As a historian, as an educator, someone who teaches about civil rights, what alarms you most from what you just saw? Understanding it is a sliver.
It is a sliver, but it's a sliver of a pie, and the whole pie is terrible. This isn't history. This is political propaganda designed to project a view of America as being, if not perfect, nearly infallible. Because if America is always on the right course, then those who endeavor to change it must not be on the right course. And that is terribly problematic. There's another video with Frederick Douglass, and he's espousing the same sort of political talking points. And it really is insulting, not only to those of us who teach American history, but even to the likes of Frederick Douglass. If he was alive, he would have been one of those brothers fighting for change down on that Montgomery dock. He would take a white folding chair, mollywop this impersonator because he's so far and so off from teaching the truth.
Andrew, here's the thing. Prager's mission is to, quote, offer a free alternative to the dominant left-wing ideology in culture, media, and education. That is their stated agenda. What seems to be their true agenda? And even more importantly, what is the harm then of it being part of a public school curriculum?
So first, know that I do not know of a Florida district yet that's going to allow this program in their schools, even though the state has approved it. So that's good news. But obviously, I've heard from a lot of teachers across the state very concerned because what PragerU, even their CEO has said, is they intend to indoctrinate students in the state of Florida. That is what their curriculum intent is. It's not about teaching a complete and honest history. It's about whitewashing history. It's about lying to students. And it is certainly has no educational value whatsoever. And so as educators, we want to make sure that the content we are using, which teachers in Florida are screaming for resources and content, we want to make sure that that content is appropriate.
Hassan, it's my understanding that you're leading a memorialization project to preserve African American history. Here's what one of the local residents had to say about those efforts. It gives us the opportunity to show the history, show the contributions that were made by the enslaved, to make it possible for Madison and others to develop the Constitution. It is important to do that at this time because this is the time people want to know their history, want to know their ancestors. Talk to me about the importance. I think sometimes this gets misunderstood as though it is only dangerous to Black Americans when the way we teach history to future generations is dangerous to all.
It is absolutely dangerous to all. American history has many different components and many different parts to it. African American history is a part of American history. And what's so critically important about telling African American history and telling it truthfully is that it provides a prism into the American experience. I serve as the chair of the board that oversees the estate of James Madison, fourth president of the United States. And we're endeavoring to tell the history, not only of Madison's views on slavery and the Constitution and its sort of roots, but the history of the enslaved people who were there in a truthful and honest way. If we're able to understand the past, both its tragedies as well as its triumphs, we'll be better prepared to solve the problems that we face today that have direct connections to the past. And these videos, this political propaganda does exactly the opposite of that.
Andrew, and this comes at a time when there are lots of changes happening to education in Florida. Many Florida schools begin removing AP psychology courses from classrooms since it supposedly violates Florida law prohibiting lessons about sex and gender. There was fallout, prompted the education commissioner to release a statement saying AP Psych can be taught in schools. Why then are some Florida schools still choosing to nix the course?
Well, I think there's just still a lot of confusion in Florida. Look, what's happening in Florida right now is an all-out attack on public education. It's an attack on curriculum, and it's intentional, in my opinion. It's intentional because there are those at the powers that be who want to drive people out of public schools. And so we see this attempt to change the curriculum in Florida, water down the curriculum, block students from getting what they really need. There's an attack on teachers in the state of Florida, trying to take away their voice and their ability to do their jobs. every teacher I talk to in the state of Florida, as school has started here, has said that they are not very comfortable with the way this school year is starting. They're very, very concerned. They're not excited. And it's why they're leaving the profession in droves. We have over 7,000 teacher vacancies right now in the state of Florida as the school year is starting. And what's happening with the curriculum, what's happening with our public schools in Florida is really driving that. And at the end of the day, it's kids who are losing out.